Coming up, a legendary performance punches the Hawkeyes' tickets to the Final Four. And later, the United States responds to attacks on Syrian military bases.
And Iowa baseball is off to a historic start to their season.
Mississippi hit with disastrous tornadoes.
This is DITV News at 8:30. Good morning and thank you for tuning in live to DITV and KRUI 89.7 FM. I'm Johnny Valtman. It was an all-time performance in the Elite Eight matchup between the Iowa Hawkeyes and Louisville Cardinals. Let's send it over to DITV Sports Director Michael Merrick for more on this historic Hawkeye moment.
Thanks, Johnny. And just 1 day shy of the 30th anniversary for the first ever Hawkeye women's basketball Final Four appearance, well, Iowa would punch their ticket to Dallas behind an unforgettable and legendary performance from Caitlin Clark that was so impressive, it even left her teammates speechless.
It was unreal. It was amazing. I mean, Caitlin, I was like watching her sometimes, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, how are you? This isn't even humanly possible. I mean, I'm just so proud of her. She deserves that. And, yeah, she's unreal.
I don't think a lot of people believed when I said this in high school. A lot of doubters, a lot of people saying, you really think you're going to make it to the Final Four with the University of Iowa? I believed it every single second.
People from all over the nation got to see this historic game from Clark, from Iowa City to Washington, D.C., and of course the lucky people of Seattle were all witness to an all-time clinic from Iowa's own Caitlin Clark, as she became the first ever NCAA player to not only have a 40-point triple-double, but is also the first ever player to have a 30-point triple-double in NCAA tournament history. Clark also accounted for 70 of Iowa's 97 points, which is 20 more points than any player has ever been responsible for in tournament history. And the love for Clark didn't just stop when the final whistle blew, as social media was buzzing about this game. Caitlin Clark spent the night as the #1 trending topic in all of America, receiving praises such as, quote, one of the best players on the planet, super sensational, the most exciting player in college basketball, and from Isaiah Thomas himself, quote, the real deal. It's clear that Caitlin Clark's impact has far surpassed that of just Iowa City, as Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Hawkeyes are now a national household name.
This group has gave everything they've had. We might not be like the most athletic team. We might not be the fastest. We might not be loaded with a bunch of 5 stars, but it's the culture that carries you, and that's going to get you way further than any skill or talent that you have.
Iowa is already on their way to Dallas to prep for the Final Four matchup, and we'll have more women's basketball coverage later in sports. So back to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Michael. DITV News Director Ashley Wheel is in Washington, D.C. this week to chat with Iowa lawmakers. Ashley, how's the weather out there?
Thanks, that's right. I'm here in Washington, D.C., where it is perfect cherry blossom season and wonderful out here. We are set to interview some Iowa lawmakers here, so stay tuned for more content here on DITV as well as thedailyiowan.com throughout this whole week. So stay tuned, but let's head back to you in the studio for now.
Thank you, Ashley. And late last week, drone attacks targeted U.S. military bases in Syria. I have more on how the United States plans to respond. Last Thursday, a drone attacked a U.S. base in Syria, killing 1 and injuring 5 Americans. Friday saw several more attempted attacks on the U.S.'s military bases. The proxy missiles have now been suspected to have been Iranian-made.
Iran's vast and deeply resourced proxy forces spread instability throughout the region and threaten our regional partners.
The U.S. responded to these attacks with multiple of their own strikes against Iran, mostly along the Syrian and Iranian borders. Multiple Iranians were killed in these attacks. The attack marks the 4th time since President Joe Biden took office where he's attacked Iran. Despite hostility between the two nations, President Biden does not want to see a future conflict.
And to make no mistake, the United States does not emphasize seek conflict with Iran, but be prepared for us to act forcefully, protect our people.
900 U.S. troops are stationed in Syria. The The U.S. will continue to defend their troops and have no plans of pulling their forces. Now back home in the States, the South was rocked by tornadoes last week. Let's send it out to AJ with more.
That's right, Johnny. Rural parts of Alabama and Mississippi were hit with tornadoes on Friday, gutting towns and leaving at least 25 people dead and even more injured or reported missing. Buildings were torn to pieces, trees uprooted and destroyed homes, and vehicles were thrown like toys. Governor Tate Reeves delivered an inspiring speech to the citizens of Rolling Fork after the event, saying, despite the horrific events that happened in Mississippi, the unwavering support and bravery of the citizens of Mississippi has, quote, made him damn proud to be a Mississippian. Severe storms continue to roll through parts of southern Mississippi as search and rescue teams sort through the rubble looking for survivors. Now back to you in the studio, Johnny.
Thank you, AJ. And this past September, Iowa's Esports Arcade opened. The room is outfitted with several PCs along with console gaming stations containing all the latest video game consoles. The room hosts events both for the University of Iowa students and others across the state, including regular Smash Bros. Tournaments and practice for the Iowa esports teams. Usually around 20 people are in the arcade at any given time, but events such as the Smash Bros. Tournament brings larger crowds. The room has been successful in making gaming and esports more accessible to students at Iowa.
There is a barrier to entry for gaming specifically. Like, you need a console, you need a computer, and those things aren't cheap all the time. So some people may not have they may not have access to some of those things. But like with this, if you're a university student, you have the ability to play on a high-end computer. Play any games you want.
The Esports Arcade room is in G335 in the IMU and open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. A new restaurant opened in the new South District Market in Iowa City on Saturday. Royston Soul Food features fried chicken, spaghetti, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, and more. Roycian Porter, owner and supervisor on the Johnson County Board of Supervisors, has been working on opening the restaurant for a year. Porter said, quote, "That's how I get involved with people in the community. I cook, so I'm always cooking." The new South District Market will have up to 5 restaurants or retail spaces in a market-type setting, including Porter's brand new soul food restaurant. As March is coming to a close, some female farmers are advocating for more women in the agricultural business. These farmers said their work is essential to the industry. Since 2017, roughly 45,000 of the 86,000 farms in Iowa have female producers. 36% of farmers in the United States are women, and around 56% of farms across the country have at least one female decision maker. Iowa Women Agriculture is a group of female farmers, landowners, and agribusiness professionals that helps expand and network with other women in agriculture. The president of the group, Cheryl Telvis, said it's becoming more critical that women are involved in farming operations. Clinton, Iowa will receive more than 20 University of Iowa student-led projects to advance the community's sustainability goals. The Initiative of Sustainable Communities programs allows students to create and share sustainability ideas with cities across Iowa. Each year, the program selects one community to partner with during the academic year. Some of this year's projects include rebranding the city with a new marketing campaign, policy recommendations to address the issues of opioid addiction in the community, and creating a new trail system for bicycles and pedestrians. The Clinton City Administrator said the city is trying to fit as many of the projects into the community as possible. The projects will be implemented by the end of the academic year in May. This April, the Asian Pacific American Cultural Center will celebrate its 20th anniversary. The celebration will highlight both new achievements, such as the recently launched magazine, and putting together an alumni, along with continuous old traditions like the annual night market. On March 31st, the music group Eli will perform at the James Theater in celebration of the anniversary. Now let's send it back to AJ outside with our weather forecast.
Thanks, Johnny. It is a sunny 30 degrees out here without a cloud in the sky, but it doesn't seem like that will be sticking around for long. Today we will see a high of 49 with some clouds later in the day with a low of 29, and tomorrow will bring a high of 51 and a low of 30. Looking ahead to the rest of the week, Wednesday will be cloudy with a brisk high of 40 and a low of 32. Thursday has a 40% chance of rain with highs in the upper 50s and lows in the upper 20s. Friday looks like thunderstorms with a high of 69 and a low in the mid-30s. And the weekend looks to be bringing some sunshine with highs in the lower 40s and lows in the high 20s on Saturday. And Sunday looks to bring even more promise with highs in the low 60s and lows in the lower 30s. Now let's kick it over to Michael Merrick with sports.
Thanks, AJ. And as we led the show off with, the Iowa women's basketball team is headed to the Final Four for the first time in 30 years. This is also Coach Bluter's first ever Final Four appearance, adding to what is already a legendary resume that stands the test of time. And emotions of last night's win were amplified with the tragic news of associate coach Jan Jensen losing her father to cancer that morning. After the victory, Coach Jensen dedicated the win to her late father.
He didn't miss it. He never missed games. He never, and he's older, right? So he never could figure out Big Ten Plus. So he'd always go up to a relative. He said, I'm not quite ready to go. He told my niece, who they did so great taking care of him at home. He said, I'm going to wait till Jan's team is done, and then we'll let it settle down. But then I thought, when I got the call this morning, I thought, well, he must know we're not done. So he probably thought, well, I might as well check out because they're going to go to Dallas. So.
It was a very emotional night in Seattle, and Iowa will now take on the winner of tonight's South Carolina versus Maryland matchup in Dallas this weekend with a trip to the national championship on the line. And in men's basketball news, 2 Hawkeyes have entered their names into the transfer portal following the conclusion of the season. Both Aaron Eulis and Josh Agundale will forego their senior season at the university and look to find new homes in the NCAA. Eulis started 27 games this season and averaged 6 points and 2 assists per contest. And Agundale saw limited time in his 3 seasons as a Hawkeye, appearing in just 38 games during his time in Iowa City. Iowa will have to look towards the portal to reload for next season, as they are expected to lose a ton of key contributors, such as the amazing All-American Chris Murray and the Soren Serbian Filip Bracha. Hawks are expected to have 4 open scholarships, however, with the transfers making the upcoming portal season as exciting as ever. And continuing with some Hawkeye wins, the Iowa baseball team is red hot lately. DITV sports reporter Aiden Wirtz has more on the team's success.
After sweeping Western Michigan this past weekend, the Hawks are off to their best start in program history. Iowa is now 19-3 with multiple players batting over 300. The Sticks have been rolling all season, as head coach Rick Keller said, quote, "It was a really impressive weekend. Offensively, great job getting pitches in the zone to hit. When you do that, you end up with the opportunity to hit the ball hard," end quote. Throughout the past couple of games, Iowa has had lots of extra base hits coming from players like Raider Tello and Michael Seegers. Over the weekend, the Hawks outscored Western Michigan 43-17 on their way to this historic start. Iowa will take on Illinois State tomorrow at 5 p.m. and will start Big Ten play against Maryland on Friday. From the University of Iowa, Aiden Wirtz, DITV Sports.
Thanks, Aiden. And the Hawkeyes will certainly have their hands full this weekend and will have to rely on the flamethrower that is Brody Brecht. He broke the news over the weekend that he will not return to the football field next season. Brecht took to social media saying, quote, "Football is my first love, but in the past few years, baseball has become my true passion. With that said, I have decided to focus full-time on my college baseball career, and I want to be great at baseball and hope to play in Major League Baseball in the future." The former Iowa wide receiver hauled in 9 receptions for 87 yards last season. So far this baseball season, he has started 6 games with an ERA of 2.20 and has tallied 46 strikeouts. Brecht is currently the 17th ranked draft prospect in the 2024 class. Come back Wednesday for everything related Hawkeye sports. Now back to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for tuning in to DITV News this morning. I'm Johnny Valtman. Have a great day.